Hello, everybody. Welcome. Thank you guys for showing up to Ghost Jobs and Ghost Companies, pulling back the curtain using OSINT. I'm realizing now that I totally missed the opportunity to say peering beyond the veil with the spookiness of it all, but maybe next time. So a little bit of introduction about myself. So my name is Patrick Wheltle. I'm born and raised in Baltimore, Maryland. Go Ravens, go O's. For my background, I've been a cybersecurity analyst for the last 9 years, and this is my first time speaking at a conference like this, so again, thank you guys for showing up. I have the usual suite of cybersecurity certifications, but by far my favorite right now is the Practical OSINT Research Professional. Not because it's particularly prestigious or difficult or anything like that, but I really like the acronym, Patrick Wheltle, PORP. Yeah, I think there's an elegance to that, and it's quite fun to say. So this past February, I was at Wild West Hacking Fest Mile High in Denver, and during which I took Next Level OSINT with Michel Hahn, which was also offered here, and some people in the room might have taken that this week. It was a lot of fun. I pretty much spent the next month playing with every single one of the tools and seeing what I could find. This campfire talk is going to discuss some of the skills that I picked up in that class and the rabbit holes that it led to. And while the talk is pretty short, I'm hoping you can come away with some insights on what you can look for yourself. So first, we'll do some definitions. What is a ghost job? A ghost job is a posting on a board like Indeed that the company really has no intention of filling externally. They could be collecting resumes just to get a feel for the talent market, give the illusion of growth to investors and employees, or they might have an internal candidate in mind, but they have to post externally for regulatory reasons. They suck, everybody hates them. A ghost company in this context means a company that doesn't really exist outside of a paper trail, and at the very least, they aren't who they say they are. I ended up finding a bunch of new and unheard companies when I was digging around because being from Maryland, a lot of times the dead ends that I found were companies that were less than truthful about the government contracts that they were on. They might be hiring for a contract that wasn't awarded yet, or they might have gotten the contract, but they're completely out of their depth and would be hell to work for because right now it's just a guy with an LLC. Again, digging for this sort of became a weird hobby of mine because why not? It was fun. But small companies overselling their abilities would not make for a very interesting campfire story. So we're going to focus on a particular case study about a particular company that became an obsession of mine beyond any reasonable level. And basically, it started out by finding a role for an OSINT investigator, and it caught my eye because it had a pretty high salary considering the experience requirements. But I wasn't familiar with the company, so I started looking into it. And by the way, everything in this presentation is true as I saw it, but I am using fake names for the companies and people in them. There's always a possibility that I'm completely wrong, and this saves me some liability. Yes, it's all public data sets, but I don't want to get sued or anything like that. Since it's October and the talk is about ghost companies, I'm going to be using spooky stand-ins. Just to be clear though, this is based around a true company, and the folks who are OSINT savvy might actually be able to recreate this themselves based on what they can find here. So we're going to call our company Spooky Security Corporation. So in the beginning, it seemed like a normal tech startup, but there was one detail that kind of set off alarm bells for me. I looked at the other job openings, and there was positions open with a starting salary of $500,000 that went up to $760,000. Which is good money if you can get it, but they were specifically looking for candidates that had already established connections with the defense sector, which started giving me interest about maybe this isn't some no-name startup, maybe this is a touch more malicious. So I did an initial blitz to see if this is something that I wanted to dig into, and the quick investigation revealed that this company is very weird, to say the least. There were so many little things that were just incredibly strange that I just became completely obsessed. Who are these guys? What are they doing? What do they want? And so for the sake of time, I'm going to do a quick lightning round for you guys. And just understand that this is multiple nights of work, staying up way too late on a weeknight, and following breadcrumbs, hitting dead ends, all that good stuff. And why did I do all this? I don't know. Why do people climb mountains? Because they are there. So here are some of the hits. Stock tickers that don't exist. Cryptocurrencies that don't exist. Software that doesn't exist. No user guides, manuals, Stack Overflow posts, Reddit posts, or anything about them at all, like no natural discussion at all. And you can search for backlinks using a tool called Backlink Watch, and basically you'll see where the domain has been posted anywhere else on the web. And the only backlinks for this company were random SEO websites to bump up the page rank. There was a company Instagram that had 140,000 followers with 0 posts and set to private. That's not real. And not that, like, you know, defense contractors really have a big short-term media game or anything like that. And there was a link to a job posting that led to an authentication page which asked for a PIN, but if you did nothing for 3 seconds, it just let you in anyway with no interaction at all. Behind it was a PDF with their marketing strategy, but the document was labeled with government portion marks, but nothing in the document matched that portion mark at all. The address of the company was a skyscraper that lets you rent virtual office space in Wilmington, Delaware, which lets you incorporate in Delaware with all the benefits of being in Delaware without actually being in Delaware for $99 a month. When I found this, I was deep in my obsession at this point. And like I said, I'm in Maryland, which is right next door, so I got lunch in Wilmington, took a selfie in front of the building. And the front door was locked, but the security guy buzzed me in so I could come in and ask him about these guys. And yeah, he let me flip through the directory. The company was nowhere to be found, and he had never heard of them before. So I found their deleted attempt to make a Wikipedia page where the mods were asking the same questions I did, which was, who the hell are you guys? And what's really great about that is because it's Wikipedia, you can actually read the logs between the author and the mods. So it was really fun because, like, yeah, like you have to be like a little bit notable before you can make a Wikipedia page for your company. I did try to see if the username of the author was going to lead anywhere, and it was a dead end there. But most importantly, on the deleted Wikipedia page, I found 3 names that are apparently the C-suite officials of this company. So again, I'm using fake names here, but we're going to go over the C-suite right here. We're going to start with the CEO. We're going to use more ghosts, by the way. The CEO, Gengar. We're going to do the Chief Legal Officer, Booberry, talking about cereal earlier. And the Chief Commercial Officer, Bloody Mary. And so yeah, we're going to start with Booberry real quick because Booberry was really easy because he doesn't exist. He's not a real person. I checked that name everywhere and there was just nothing about them. So yep, easy, got that out of the way, wrap them up, 1 down, 2 to go. So the next thing that we're going to do is Bloody Mary here, and this is where things get fun. So I put Spooky Securities into Open Corporates, which is a website where you can look up corporate records and all that stuff. And yeah, we've got Gengar and Mary in there, but if you look up Mary on her own, you see a lot of talk because if on Open Corporates, you can search by company, but you can also search by officer. And if you put her name in there, she's over 72,000 companies, which is very strange. And people didn't have a clue who she was. There was like, people were speculating, is this like an I Am Spartacus situation? Or there's actually a legal document where there was a fraudulent company that had her name on it. And in the legal court document, they had her mentioned by name with the opinion that like they don't know if she's a real person or not, a real ghost CCO here. So a thing that mentioned at Next Level OSINT was that a lot of stuff doesn't get dug up just because other people assume that someone else is looking for this. And a lot of things don't get found because nobody bothers looking. So I started looking. Again, I stayed up way too late, multiple weeknights digging as deep as I could, and I started with Spooky Security on Open Corporates, and I saw that that was registered by an LLC. That LLC was registered by another LLC, and so on and so forth until I found the top layer, which was a company that makes companies. For $200, you can just, have somebody else do the paperwork for you, and then you can get your own LLC. That company was headquartered in Texas, which then narrowed down where I needed to do a people search. So I went to the Texas real estate records and put an entry and found only one entry with Bloody Mary's name on it. Popped that address into Google Maps, popped the company address into Google Maps, and it was a 20-minute drive. So, like, we got them. Oh no, slides going through? There we go. That's happening now. So yeah, like what does Bloody Mary do? Yeah, I did a little bit more digging into social media, and yeah, she's a real person. And yeah, like I'm not gonna get too in the weeds because from what I understand, she's a lady with a job. And the job is to help companies set up companies because if you look at what she's an officer of, it's like nail salons, car mechanics, yoga studios, things like that. And so it's for people who want to set up an LLC and they just need someone to be a lightning rod for all the paperwork, and that's Bloody Mary here. So she's real, she seems nice, but most importantly, she has nothing to do with spooky security. This was killing me at this point. Why is she listed as a C-suite member when she has nothing to do with this at all? All right, 2 down, 1 to go, down to our last person, Gengar. So Gengar is listed as the founder of the company, and at first he was a bit difficult to track down, but eventually I found a copyright registered to his name, which included an email address, and that email address was a personalized domain, which was huge for me, because I found out that domain resolved to a charity website, the Gengar Foundation, which was supposed to get tech to kids in Africa or something like that, but it doesn't matter because it's not real. Like, it's not a real charity. The website was completely non-functional, but it was the missing link that I needed to find this person's LinkedIn, which I couldn't find earlier because it was a first initial last name. On their LinkedIn, I was able to see that they were some sort of serial startup guy, which Spooky Security was on there, but most of them were like nonprofits focused on tech or kids or whatever, but all their domains either 404'd or under construction or just straight up weren't functional. I was able to match some of those orgs onto open corporates, so they were real in the sense that they were in good standing, but they weren't real in the sense they did anything. So who the hell was this guy? What is he doing? Of the 10 companies on his page, one of them was not like the others. It was some sort of esports league, cryptocurrency project. And I Googled that to find out that actually existed and actually had an online presence and a Discord and a sort of active community. And it was the most concrete thing I had found in this entire journey here. And the thing that blew this wide open for me was I found a fake New York Times article hosted on an AWS bucket run by another one of Gengar's fake companies that was saying that there's this 15-year-old who started $1 million company in his bedroom that was an esports tech and DeFi company, which was the esports league. And none other than Gengar was the 15-year-old. So what does that mean? That means that in 2020, they had this guy at 15 years old, which means that he's 20 to 21 years old now. So I switched down to like looking for colleges that he's associated with. And I was able to find out that, yes, the person at the top of this company, the company that I'd been obsessing with over for weeks, was in all likelihood a child. Nay, an undergrad who goes to Purdue. But yeah, there we were. 3 up, 3 down. And one of the most important lessons from Next Level OSINT was not just where to start, but also when to stop. And that is where I planted my flag and called it a day. So what's the actual purpose of this company? I still don't know. I haven't ruled anything out. It could just be some project by a college kid who watched too much finance TikTok. It could be a malicious front company for an intel agency that they're using this guy as a facilitator. I can't rule anything except for the fact that I'm not going to put an application in. I could have done something like put a fake resume or pretended I was a customer, but that's going into OSINT, or that's leaving OSINT and going into social engineering, which isn't anything I had any interest in doing, so I stopped there. So where does that leave us? First, I'll leave up a list of tools that I used in all this. It's not exhaustive, but feel free to like take a picture of this. We don't have time to go into the details of all the research done, but we'll hit the main points. The best way to learn from these is literally just to play with these yourself for the purpose of looking for ghost jobs. Open corporates and LinkedIn and simple Googling did the majority of the heavy lifting for me. But I still do these little deep dives every now and again when I see something weird, but none have been as exciting as Spooky Security, which I still do check in on with because they're still out there. Like the websites are still up, and I hope that one day they do something that kind of gives up the game. You don't need to go as in-depth as I did to come to a conclusion that you shouldn't apply somewhere. The talk should give you some tools to do your own research, but really follow your gut. If it looks too good to be true, it probably is. There are AI agents apparently that will apply for 1 million jobs for you. I would avoid those if I were you because you have no idea where your personal information is ending up. And I don't need to tell a room full of hackers that there are people on the internet who are not who they pretend to be. Best case scenario, you waste your time. Worst case scenario, there are malicious actors out there who are looking to do you harm and are willing to take advantage of a tight job market and prey on someone who might be desperate for work. So keep your head clear, be safe, and be smart. And the last piece of advice, if the owner of said company happens to be in the room right now, and you're able to recognize yourself from the clues I've given, and you're actually legit and not weird, first off, please tell me. I really want to talk to you. But if you're them, or if you're anybody who's hiring for a startup, I have a device for you. If your company looks like it could possibly be a malicious intelligence operation, don't make your company look like it could be a malicious intelligence operations. That's all I got. Thank you guys very much. And if you have any questions, I am willing to answer away. I will start in the back.
Was Bloody Mary essentially like a registered agent for the company?
So she was technically an officer, so it was like a registered officer. Oh, sorry. Was Bloody Mary like a registered agent? The registered agent was its own company. That was like an LLC that was the registered agent for all these other companies, and she was the signatory on it. So she is an officer of all of these different companies. Yes.
Me?
Yes.
Okay. So I believe it was the CLO.
Yes. Blueberry.
Yes, the one that's not real doesn't exist. So in OSINT investigations, I'm assuming the name was unique enough that you were
Yes.
do variations of it. So it's not like a Johnson that's like, well, it could have been. Okay, so it was unique enough, and that's how you were able to.
I was able to come to a pretty good conclusion, because apparently this person was a lawyer, but like. Oh, so, was the name unique enough for Blueberry that we were able to come to an actual conclusion that this wasn't a real person? And the answer was yes. In theory, this person is supposed to be a lawyer, but if you look up their name, their only association was a Scholastica article that said they are the lawyer for Spooky Corporation, and nothing else. So you think a lawyer would have something out there, but truly just nothing.
Do you feel any ethical obligation to contact Bloody Mary and let her know that she may have liability as an officer of a foreign intelligence operation?
So
Repeat the question.
Oh yeah. So do I have a? Thank you. Do I think there's an ethical obligation to inform Bloody Mary that this is a potential malicious operation? There are other companies that have been using the same services before that have been nabbed for fraud, and I don't think I could find her personal contact info, but I could find the company website is right there, and it's already in the news, and people talk about them all the time. It's just that the individual themselves is what I was able to dig up. So I think, the fact that they really scrubbed their social media probably means they're kind of already aware of the situation. And again, I don't think that I have enough evidence myself to make that call, even though, yeah, it is kind of weird. So I feel like, if I had something more concrete, then maybe. But in the meantime, it's just like a interesting novelty, honestly.
What's your next obsession? What's the next thing you're gonna go down a rabbit hole?
Oh, what's my next obsession? Well, I've been chasing this high ever since, man. No, I've been looking at other companies and being like, is there someone else like this? But no, right now it's just going around. I still am digging into this. I come back to these guys all the time because I'm not quite satisfied with my answer yet. So, do we have another? Got one right there?
You've taken a look in the other direction where the company is real, but the recruiter and the job offering aren't actually real?
I have not. Just because I would love if somebody hit me up on LinkedIn and they were fake and I could just do a deep dive into them. But yeah, that is also a common thing where that's in the news all the time where people are social engineering folks and being like, yeah, I'm part of crypto.com or a big finance company. In reality, they're not. It would be nice to be able to stalk an individual person that I think is doing poorly, but I haven't had the opportunity, which is a damn shame. But
You mentioned a fake New York Times article.
yes.
And I'm curious to know if you did, while repeating the question, any metadata analysis on any of the fake documents you discovered.
So the question was, fake New York Times article, did I do any metadata analysis? And the answer is yes. In fact, there's actually 2 copies of and it was on a PDF that was just hosted. So I downloaded that, and all it did was give me a confirmation of the date it was created, and it was dated before Spooky Security was formed. So it had been around for a minute. But unfortunately, no names, no anything like that. But yeah, I did actually get a New York Times subscription so I could search their archives to double check that, yeah, this wasn't real. So I gave the New York Times $1 to.
Okay, follow-up question.
Mhm.
Did you by chance look at PDF layering outside of metadata? So like, as they're doing edits, oftentimes PDFs leave the previous layers there.
So question was, did I do PDF layering?
Or versioning.
Or versioning, right? I did not, but I have the PDFs on my desktop. So I might just do that later. No. All right, I think we got 5 more minutes, but I think if nobody else has any questions.
Are you sure this is your first presentation?
This is my first presentation here. I've done at Comic-Cons before. Like,
Well, you did great. You did fantastic.
thank you very
Very
much.
fun story. Thank you very much.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you guys very much.